You're listening to The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
To pass a bill that would have given jail time to librarians who allow library content some consider offensive. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for The Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Gary Harris Show for this Friday, May 10, 2024. That's right. It's the TGIF edition of the Gary Harris Show, and we are jam-packed on this Friday. We got a great show ready for you. Excited that you're with us, and so much to cover this morning going into the weekend. Some great guests. We'll run it all down for you here in just a second. But first, I need to tell you, as always, this hour of the Gary Harris Show being brought to you by Alabama Credit Union. Member-owned and not-for-profit. It is just a better way of banking. And tomorrow is the day for the Kids Triathlon at Lake Lurleen, a fundraiser for Secret Meals for Hungry Children, which is a phenomenal program. You've heard me talk about it before here on the show. But tomorrow is the day. The Tuscaloosa Kids Triathlon benefiting Secret Meals for Hungry Children, Lake Lurleen State Park, May 11th. 2024 at 9 a.m., ages 5 to 16. You can learn more about this incredible event by going to alabamacu.com. That's alabamacu.com. And get involved. It's not too late. If nothing else, just to go up there and support these kids and help out Secret Meals for Hungry Children. You can find out more at alabamacu.com. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Some rules and restrictions do apply. See if you're eligible for membership. Then join today and feel good about your money. And put a little extra change in your pocket. All right, here is what we got going on. First of all, I'm Gary Harris. Justin Jones is right there manning the controls, taking your phone calls this hour on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. Luxury townhomes near North River. 205-342-9904. 205-342-9904 is the number if you want to give us a ring. And as I said, we're going to be busy this morning with three guests. At 9:30, Adam Amin, one of the top play-by-play broadcasters in the country from Fox Sports, is back with us. That's coming up at 9:30. Then at 10 o'clock, Alabama baseball coach Rob Vaughn will have another appearance with us to preview this huge series. I can't tell you how big this series is for both Alabama and LSU. And it is in Tuscaloosa. It's the final SEC home series of the season. Time flies, doesn't it? And they'll have Senior Day coming up on Sunday. Just a gigantic series with a lot of implications for the postseason in terms of regionals. Rob Vaughn will be with us at 10 o'clock this morning. Then at 10:30, it's the Auburn Report with Brett Pritchard. So you definitely want to stay tuned for the entire show. As we said, we'll take your phone calls on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline, 205-342-9904. That's 205-342-9904. All right, Justin, let's kind of talk about some topics that are making news. Obviously, Alabama baseball is going to be a big focus of our show because and I'm the first to admit it. I follow the games. I love the sport. I'm not one of these people that studies all of the postseason probabilities and possibilities and has all of the metrics in front of me and things like that. I know that Alabama has an opportunity still to host a regional. But they got to play well. You know, they got two series left against LSU and at Auburn. You need to win those, I think. And if you're going to do that, you're going to have to play good baseball. Because the thing about LSU is, and we've discussed this week, is they have kind of kicked it around a little bit this year. They have not been, most of the SEC schedule, they really struggled. Just unbelievable. Well, we've seen a recent trend with this. Ole Miss won the national championship. They struggled the next year. Mississippi State, the same thing. Now even LSU. But they're hitting on all cylinders now. We're going to talk to Coach Bo about it, but they're a dangerous team because, even with what they lost from last year, this is probably a top 5 team in the country in regards to talent and they're going to unleash it here this weekend. So we'll go full speed into that this morning on the show, and we'll talk with Rob Vaughn at 10 o'clock. Bama softball, as we know, out of the SEC tournament, and now we'll just wait to hear their regional situation coming up and see where they're going to play. I think they're going to wind up hosting a regional, but a team that, as we pointed out yesterday, has just really struggled offensively down the stretch. I mean, it's been scoring runs has just been like pulling teeth. It's been painful trying to watch this team get people across the plate. But look at LSU. That's what can happen sometimes. LSU won that 14. Did you see that, Justin? They won that 14 game against Alabama, and then came back and beat Tennessee yesterday. Wow. So the SEC tournament continues down at Auburn, but Alabama, of course, is out of it. NBA playoffs. This happened to Boston in the exact same scenario in the last series. They blew out Miami in game 1 and they got beat at home in game 2. Now, they didn't lose again. Same thing last night. They blew out Cleveland in game 1. They got blown out last night at home, 118-94. That series is now even at 1-1, and Cleveland takes the home court advantage. And then you have Dallas doing the same thing, going into OKC and winning. So that series is now tied at 1-1, and you have Dallas taking the home court advantage. So interesting there that both the road teams won last night in the NBA conference semifinals, Cleveland in the East and Dallas out in the West. Golf. Good day yesterday, and I'm sure you tracked it a little bit, Justin. Good day yesterday for the Alabama contingent at Wells Fargo. It was a solid day for all three former Bama players in the event. Justin Thomas shot 3 under. Lee Hodges shot 3 under. And Nick Dunlap shot 2 under. And Nick had a chance to go lower, but he had a late bogey, and but still a solid round. Now, Xander Schauffele leads by 3 strokes, which is a significant lead on the PGA Tour. He's at -7 over Colin Morikawa, who's at -4, Alex Noren, who's at -4, and Rory McIlroy, who's at -4. Then JT is tied for 5th at -3, as is Lee Hodges. And then at -2, Nick Dunlap is tied for 12th. Now, here is the deal with Schauffele. I'm going to go ahead and get into this, and don't have Casey on today. I've told you my guess, but any of you golfers that are out there that really are, it could be a local pro, it could be someone who, is a really accomplished golfer and knows the rules and has played in events. There are favorable rulings, and then there are rulings that just make people at home scratch their head, okay? That just absolutely, and some frustrate some people, infuriate others, with how these are the best players in the world and how sometimes it seems like, amateurs are crushed when they're playing for, moving the ball or rolling the ball or whatever. And then we see Xander Schauffele at Quail Hollow, one of the best golf courses on the tour, get a ruling that just leaves you scratching your head. He was playing the 8th hole, which was his 17th. He was at 6 under with an eagle on the 7th, which was his 16th. He hit a tee shot. You can probably pull it up and look at the video, Justin, if you haven't seen it. He hit a tee shot that was so bad. First of all, I think Wyndham Clark found it. It's amazing that it was found. When it was found, it was all through the woods, up against the holly bushes, against the fence. I mean, it was complete jail. A complete no shot. I mean, I guess you could have just tried to get your club on it, stand against a fence, and kind of punch it out. By the time they're done, after moving big rocks that they said weren't embedded, 10-minute delay, gets a rules official in there, they rule that the cable, I guess from one of those automatic cameras for the television coverage, was in his line of sight. He winds up getting relief outside of the woods. By the time they're done with this, he's sitting there and just punches it onto the green and makes an easy par. Are you looking at it, Justin? Somebody's going to have to explain this to me. I mean, somebody's going to have to explain how you can manipulate the rules to the point that you're in jail and then you wind up with a shot. That looks like something we would do playing on a Saturday morning. Hey, Justin, listen, I'm in the woods, man, but if I close my left eye and peek through the opening there, I see a cable that's in my line of sight. So I'm going to grab my driver and I'm going to stretch it out away from the fence a couple of club lengths. And this is all within the rules. This is fair. I'm out of the woods now. I got a shot.
Yeah, just give it a kick, Gary. Put it back in the fairway. This is this lie. You're not kidding. The way you described it was pretty accurate. Up against a fence, in the brush, rocks, tree roots, everything. And you said he went to make birdie on this hole?
No, he made par. That was his tee shot. Excuse me. He then placed the ball after all that went on, and he's outside of the woods. He hit it onto the green in 2 and had an easy 2-putt par. I mean, he could have been looking at best a 5 and maybe even a 6, which he still would have had the lead. He's got a 3-shot lead. But that is a substantial deal. It's everyone on golf social media is talking about it. And I don't know. I guess technically because the rules official was right in there with him, but I don't see how in the world that's what you come up with there. And you wind up getting a shot, but I don't know. I guess they rule it was okay. I'm just hoping that some people that know the rules of golf, and there's a call coming in right now, will chime in and explain how in the heck this turned out to be a ruling that he was able to get because I guess a cable. I've seen them deny guys who favorable rulings in situations where there was a something much bigger in their line of sight, and this is like a cable. I don't know. It's not. I guess it's not Xander Schauffele's fault, but he's going to feel all the repercussions from it. Fans are going to be weighing in on this for some time. In fact, it's being called Dropgate. So anyway, let's jump out before we get to the break. Let's jump out and go ahead and talk to Tom because I'm sure he's going to want to weigh in on this Xander Schauffele thing, and he might have been watching it live yesterday. Good morning, Tom.
No, I wasn't watching it live, but based on what you're saying this morning, what you always have to go with in golf, is it man-made or is it organic? That's the thing. And if it's something man put there, you can get relief.
Oh, I understand. I know that part of the rule, but to me, that's a stretch to say that a cable is when you're up against the fence so deep into the holly bushes that to be able to get, it just seems. Maybe that's the rule. I guess it is. Obviously, a rules official, but that's a bad rule. It makes the PGA Tour look bad, is all I'm telling you. He hit a horrible golf shot and paid no penalty. Well, what are they going to do next time? Well, my ball hit on the ground and it rolled into the water, but we wouldn't have rolled into the water if the grass hadn't just been mowed. I'm just saying it seemed like to me in this situation, they just manipulated the rule to allow the guy to get a shot. That's just seemed what it came across to me. Tom. You're in a...
Hello?
Yeah, you're breaking up bad. Are you there now?
Okay. I'll call later. Thanks.
Okay. All right. 9:14 on the Gary Harris Show. But I'd like to get into some discussion about this because everybody knows I like golf and everybody understands that follows golf, that there are rules and it's a gentleman's game and all of that. So to see a rule being manipulated, I mean, I just think there might have been a lot of golfers that would just have come up and said, hey, this is an unplayable lie. First of all, they had to find the ball. And but for Xander to go through, and he wants to win, I get it. But him to go through that entire dog and pony show with the rules official, and it's not, he may win the golf tournament, but he is probably going to take some hits in the public opinion polls, I can tell you that. All right, 9:15 here on the Gary Harris Show. We got Adam Amin coming up at 9:30. We're going to talk NBA basketball and the NBA playoffs, Major League Baseball, and NFL with Adam Amin. And then Rob Vaughn, Alabama baseball coach, at 10 o'clock. Your phone calls are welcome on the Pinnacle Park at North River hotline, 205-342-9904. Again, if you're a golf fan out there, I want to hear from you. I really do want to know what you think. Maybe I'm being harsh, but I just thought when they went into those holly bushes and into the woods, there was no way in the world I was going to see Xander Schauffele wind up pulling his ball out of the woods into an opening and having a shot without a penalty and making a par on that hole. And now he's got a 3-shot lead. So anyway, all right, this is the Gary Harris Show, the TGIF edition. You know what else we got? We got great weekend music to get you pumped up for the weekend. Out of every break. No elevator music on Fridays around here. We're going to be back with the Gary Harris Show right after this.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and...
We're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Visit PattersonComerLawFirm.com.
No representations made that legal services provided by Patterson Comer is greater than any other legal services performed by any other lawyer.
Los Tarascos has been serving Mexican favorites like burritos, fajitas, and quesadillas since 1999. Their new location is at 4100 Owen Parkway in Northport. And, of course, you can find Los Tarascos in Tuscaloosa at 110 Skyland Boulevard. The bar areas feature big screen television so you can enjoy your favorite sporting events. Los Tarascos features daily
Chiropractic, the only third-generation chiropractor with over 26 years experience in Tuscaloosa. Call Tidwell Chiropractic at 752-2503.
As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Get a meat and 3 vegetables for just $8.49. Or for a lighter appetite, try the Lucky Lunch soup, salad, or sandwich combo. I'll see you at the Free. Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions, both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside on the beautiful patio. Come by and say hello to Kim and Lisa, the Billy's Management Dream Team. Billy's, good food, good friends, and good time.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
We'll forecast a clearing sky today. Tuscaloosa's high 82. Clear and cool tonight, the low 54. Tomorrow and Sunday, lots of sunshine both days. The high tomorrow 79. The high Sunday in the low 80s and 82. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 72 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You see him on WVUA 23 covering sports and on Tider Insider TV on Tuesday nights. Don't miss a minute of the Gary Harris Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 on Tide 100.9.
Let it play for a second, Justin. What a great tune. Gonna let it play for a minute, man, because this is good stuff. Wet Willie. Mobile's Jimmy Hall, frontman for a great 70s and 80s Southern rock band. Keep on Smiling, another terrific tune. But weekend, man, sure gets you pumped up. And it is gorgeous outside. It's going to be a terrific weekend. We got the weather out of the way. We didn't get much here in Tuscaloosa, thank goodness. They got some storms. I know over in the Birmingham area, I mean, they had some storms and incredible amount of rain. We didn't get too much here, but the weekend, Mother's Day weekend too, by the way, I'll be going to see my mom on Sunday, is going to be absolutely terrific. And Saturday and Sunday, we're talking low humidity, Justin, with temperatures in like the low 80s. I mean, it's supposed to be incredibly nice. Might be time for you and your dad to use those 2 old Colony golf passes because it is a weekend for golf, I can tell you that, or whatever you want to do outside. 9:22 here on the Gary Harris Show. And I'm going to ask Adam Amin about this too. But you remember Tim Donahue, the NBA official who got busted for gambling, cheating. No, he won't go away. He told 1010XL and 92.5 FM, which is a radio station in Jacksonville, Florida, flagship radio station for the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Florida Gators, talking about how stuff is manipulated in the NBA. Former NBA official Tim Donahue to that station, quote, "They used to put us in a room and show us plays to concentrate on that they didn't want us to miss. It was always for those big market teams and always against mid-market teams. It's not fixed, but they definitely put one team at an advantage. We'd walk out of those pregame meetings and say, oh, man, they really want the Lakers to win tonight. And if you're getting paid $25,000 for each playoff game, you want the series to extend too." Now, I don't know how much credibility this guy's got because he's a disgraced NBA official. At the same time, he is a former NBA official. Justin, what do you think? Do you think that, and we know there's a lot of different players involved here. Obviously, there are the teams and the coaches. There are the officials. There are the television networks. There's the league office. Clearly, it's better for everyone involved if a series isn't completed in 4 games, if it goes to 6 or 7 games. And clearly, it's better if you have an NBA Finals with the Lakers and the Celtics, or an Eastern Conference Final with the Knicks and the Celtics than the Cavaliers and the Magic, or in the West, the T-Wolves and whatever team. Having said that, the Nuggets won the NBA championship last year. They beat the Lakers 2 years in a row. Do you think there's any possibility that these games are manipulated a little bit in regards to whether it be television networks or big market teams, or any favoritism showed in regards to how these games are officiated?
Well, that's pretty deep cut conspiracy. If it is, it's a really big deal, and I think a lot of the lower, smaller market teams are trying to make that. I don't think that it's intentionally rigged in that way to favor the big market, like your Lakers, Miami, all these teams. I do know that the Pacers, they sent 78 calls from their game the other night.
Yeah, sure did. That's an amazing amount.
That's almost the entire game, it feels like, and it's I think it speaks to an overall problem with any sport, and that's consistency in officiating. And it seems like consistency has gone out the window, whether it's the NFL, the NBA, soccer, maybe. I'm sure. So it's a big problem that probably needs to be fixed and examined.
I know they're always on top of things and trying to make sure, because credibility of the games is the most important thing that you have. But as I've said before too, in this new era of, we're going to all tie into gambling. We're going to have, teams in Las Vegas, and we're going to have every major sports team tied into a gambling app, the official app. And then we're going to say, we don't mind if people bet on it. We don't mind if we give lines on ESPN. We don't mind if we have odds makers come on every day and discuss it. But we better not, have any issues with it as far as our players are concerned, as far as our coaches are concerned, as far as our support personnel is concerned. I think that's far-fetched. People are going to gamble, and people are going to gamble who are involved somehow in these games. It's just, we're in a gambling society. And so it's just, I get it from the financial standpoint, but when you are so prominently tied into gambling, and then you expect there not to be any issues that come up. And as I've said before, it doesn't take but one player on a team. It doesn't take but one. There's a lot of different ways to manipulate a game. And we saw, the gambling situation with Shohei Ohtani's translator, People get involved in it, and it's addictive, much like other things in life. And if you've got a gambling addict, they're going to gamble, regardless of what's at stake, regardless of how much money has been lost. And again, I'm going around the world here a little bit, but the point is that integrity of the games is the most important thing that we have. And I know now that Fans do question sometimes, like you just said. How many calls did you say it was? 78 that the Pacers sent in? It's a lot of calls. A lot of things that the Pacers saw that, it's one thing to have a handful of calls, but when you send in 78, basically what you're saying is this game was totally mismanaged by the officials for whatever reason. And the Knicks are the Knicks now. That's New York City. That's of all the markets, Chicago, Los Angeles, you name them, Miami, New York is the market. It is the creme de la creme in this country. It is the biggest city. It is the biggest TV market. It is the biggest everything. All right, we're going to discuss that with Adam Amin from Fox Sports. That story, plus obviously NBA playoffs, Major League Baseball, NFL, and more with one of the top play-by-play broadcasters in the country. That's coming up. Real quickly, though, I do want to mention to you, my friends at the YMCA of Tuscaloosa. The Y is ready when you're ready for the Y. All you have to do is go down there. They'll give you a tour, get yourself signed up, and then you've got an incredible fitness facility with unbelievable people. Personal training, fitness classes, Silver Sneakers program for seniors. Jeff Knox, the CEO, and the entire staff, first class. Great community of people, too. When you become a member, you'll make friends as well. The YMCA of Tuscaloosa. The Y is ready when you're ready for the Y. 2300 13th Street, downtown. Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions, both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside. McFarland Boulevard West, Krispy Kreme is open 7 days a week. To see our complete donut, coffee, and espresso menu, visit our website at KrispyKremeTuscaloosa.com. Krispy Kreme, hot now and anytime.
The Alabama Securities Commission protects you from financial fraud. Anyone asking you for investment money must be licensed. You're careful with your money. Fraudsters aren't. Before you invest, call our hotline at 1-800-222-1253 to verify the licensing of the person making an offer and the product. Don't lose your hard-earned money. Learn to protect yourself at asc.alabama.gov. Paid for by the Investor Protection Trust and brought to you by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure a tee time at the Tuscaloosa Championship Golf Course. Everyone can play. 205-562-3201. Old Colony is operated by Para. If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept. Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa at Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. Available for after-hours events, rehearsal dinners, receptions, and birthdays. They offer brunch and lunch catering. Call Brick and Spoon at 205-345-5551 for more information.
Where the season never ends. This is your home of Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
.931, nothing better than spending a Saturday in the park. Number two, though, might be having Adam Amin on your sports talk radio show. The talented play-by-play broadcaster from Fox Sports joins us this morning to kick around NBA playoffs, Major League Baseball, NFL, and more. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning, my friend.
Let's jump right in with the NBA playoffs, and I still, from a few weeks back, feel like an idiot for picking the Suns to beat the Timberwolves, and shows you I'm a casual. I mean, I knew the Timberwolves were loaded with talent, and I just didn't think they were – I still didn't think they were ready, but after watching them dismantle the Suns and the waves of big athletic players that they throw at you and what they're doing to Joker through 2 games, not only do I think they're going to come out of the West right now, I'm thinking they're the best team in the NBA. So let's start right there with and without Rudy Gobert in game 2 in Denver, it didn't matter. I mean, I am so impressed with this team. Obviously, you got Anthony Edwards, but the way they guard, as I said, Naz Reid, the number of big people that they have, I mean, just what they built there. Not trading Towns now looks brilliant. Go in depth for us more on this T-Wolves team and what makes them special.
Yeah, I think Chris Finch did a really good job in the offseason. He had made a concerted effort to try to figure out what's the best way to play Towns and Gobert together. And that meant in terms of role when they're on the floor, what kind of gambles that he wanted to see Minnesota take defensively, and also what kind of minutes they would play together on the floor. And that was a big reason why I think they found their stride, especially on defense. I think in Utah, when Utah was decent, when they were a solid team, never really made a really deep run, but had a few playoff trips and played well when it was Mitchell and Gobert together, Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert together. It took a little while for them to figure out their role definition, but what Gobert allows, and obviously he just won another Defensive Player of the Year award, he is such a great rim protector that it allows guys around him to be a little bit more risky on defense. It allows them to be a little bit more aggressive. And I think that combined with the length of this team, that's a big reason why they're so good defensively. They have real length. Jaden McDaniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker off the bench. They have multiple guys who come in off the bench, make it difficult for people on the wing. Naz Reid was the sixth man of the year. His energy, his shooting, he's a 6'11", 7-foot guy who's shooting 41% from three. So they have all these little elements that I think Chris Finch did and their staff did a really good job of kind of figuring out. And then the biggest thing, obviously, is Edwards. That's I like Mike Conley, veteran point guard, veteran presence, still plays well, still gets it done at 37 years old. Towns sticking around and kind of finding his role and shooting well, all good stuff. But it starts and ends with Anthony Edwards. The jump that he's made, the alpha kind of mentality that he has, it's gone back to when he first got drafted. It was only furthered by his run at FIBA last year with the U.S. national team. And, he's going to be playing with a lot of those guys in the Olympics. He's going to be playing with LeBron and Curry and Durant and Kawhi. And I will be fascinated to see what the hierarchy is once they get to that point, because he is right now one of the most feared and respected players and just 22 years old in the NBA.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And when you look at the Nuggets, defending NBA champions, took care of the Lakers, and the Joker just won another MVP. He's phenomenal. I mean, man, they're just throwing guys at him. It's just waves of guys. I mean, they're down 0-2. They're going back to Minnesota. Do you see any shot here for the Nuggets to come back in this series, or is it done?
No, it's not done. I still feel like Denver is more than capable of getting back in the series. They need big games, obviously, from their typical, lot. Jokic has been disrupted. That's the biggest problem for Denver. I don't feel like they can't adjust to that. Michael Malone has typically done good things. They played very good defensive teams en route to an NBA title last year and figured out ways to get Jokic a little bit more freed up, whether it means, playing a couple of different guys on the same side of the floor as him to try to open up some spacing for better looks, giving other guys the opportunity to handle a little bit. There are different things that Michael Malone and this team can do to try to adjust and figure things out. But I don't think the series is over. But, man, Minnesota took a decisive advantage by winning 2 games on the road.
The other Western Conference semifinal, OKC was impressive in the opener at home against Dallas, but the Mavs came back last night and got a win and kind of shifted that series. So what are you seeing in the first 2 games with that series? I guess the experience with Dallas seemed to really come through last night against another really young, athletically talented team in OKC, but Dallas gets that Game 2 victory to really give them an edge right now.
Yeah, I think, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was so good in Game 1. And I think defensively they really frustrated Doncic. And then here comes Luka coming right back, scores, 20, 28, 29, whatever it was the other night. And he's playing through an injury, whether it was, the knee, the knee, I think it was a sprain, and he banged that knee during the game. But he still shot the ball exceptionally well. He got other guys involved. Kyrie is still a magician. That's a difficult matchup night in and night out, and that's what the NBA playoffs is. It's adjustments from game to game because you're seeing the same team, you're seeing the same personnel, And the losing team always has an advantage the next game because they're the ones who get to make the first adjustment. That's what we talk about when we get to this time of year in the NBA. You know, it's one thing to play well defensively and do really good things and execute, but the team that loses is the team that has the advantage for the next game because more often than not, the winning team isn't going to change anything. They're going to try to go with what worked. And the losing team gets to come out in the first quarter, second quarter, whatever the next game, and try to make the first big adjustment. All right, well, we're going to switch this defensive assignment. We're going to change this rotation at this time to try to take advantage of a matchup on the other side when they go to their bench. You know, and it's up to the team that won the prior game to now make an adjustment back to counter adjust. So, you know, this is going to be a series of adjustments. And I think for the Thunder, can they adjust defensively game in and game out when you're playing elite level offensive players who have different tricks to go to, that have different, you know, skill sets that they can lean on. And obviously the great players, the Doncic's, the Kyrie Irvings, you know, the guys that have the ball a lot, they're going to make more concerted efforts to, whether it's get to the rim, whether it's get different looks from 3-point range, you know, whatever it is. Those are the adjustments that we saw from Dallas. And I feel like that's what makes Dallas a little bit scary. When you're as good as the Thunder have been, as good as they are, they're still a young team, and that's a young coach. You know, Bart Daignault is one of the youngest coaches in the league. You know, this is his first real test, this second round series against one of the elite offensive teams in the NBA. So it's turned into a series. It's going to be fun. I'm excited to see what the next adjustment is.
Adam Amin with us from Fox Sports. Now to the East, the Celtics are just going to try to follow the same script. In the last series, they blew out the Heat in Game 1, got blown out in Game 2, and then won 3 straight. They blew out the Cavs in Game 1, got blown out last night. So series on, but man, I still, of course, Porzingis out, but I still was caught off guard last night by the Celtics. They just didn't look ready to go.
I think it's a lot of Cleveland defensively, you know, and that's the same thing with Minnesota we talked about. Cleveland is one of the best defensive teams in the league, and a lot of it has to do with Evan Mobley and when they're healthy, Jared Allen. You know, that's the other thing we've kind of overlooked at times is the lack and absence of Jared Allen in the playoffs so far. So for him to be out again and missing, you know, one of their key rim protectors and shot blockers, you know, for them to still play as well defensively as they have is a testament to their depth. Now, like Minnesota, they're one of the few teams in the league that employs, you know, the double big lineup when they're healthy, right? They actually go to multiple bigs. You have Towns and Gobert in Minnesota. You have Allen and Mobley when they're healthy here. They've gone to Tristan Thompson off the bench in this postseason with Allen, you know, sidelined. But Evan Mobley allows guys like Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland and Isaac Okoro to be a little bit more aggressive out on the perimeter defensively, allow them to take a little bit more of a risk. And again, that allows teams to just push up on Jason Tatum, push up on Jaylen Brown, push up on Derek White, push up on Peyton Pritchard when he comes into the game. Like, you're allowed to be a little bit more risky out on the wings and out on the perimeter when you have rim protection. And I think that's what's made Cleveland really good. They've been one of the best defensive teams in the NBA all year for that reason. And I figured at some point, you know, they were going to have their way with Boston. Boston is very dominant when they're at their best, but they can be streaky at times, and a good defensive game plan can help stifle their offensive options. So I thought Cleveland did a much better job of that the other night. You know, you hold the team under 80 through 3 quarters, you're in pretty good shape. And again, I figured that would be a decent series because of Cleveland's defensive prowess. I still feel like Boston's going to end up on top. Now they're in position to make the adjustments, but I figured there'd be a game or two where Cleveland's going to be able to come through because of how well they play defensively.
Adam, the only conference final that's 2-0 at this point is the one with the Pacers and the Knicks. The Knicks are up 2-0. Pacers, played very competitively in both games. You know, a lot of people feel like should have won the first game. But what's making news is that Rick Carlisle has submitted 78 total plays in 2 games that he feels like we're not officiated correctly. He even made the comment, and this is going to get a fine, I'm sure, small market teams deserve an equal shot. And I'm going to follow up with something else with our friend Tim Donahue in a moment. But, any relevance there as far as the way that series has been officiated? I mean, there have been a lot of, controversial calls, but for a head coach to come out and make that comment and to submit that many plays after 2 games lets you know he believes it's not being officiated fairly.
Yeah, and listen, Rick Carlisle's got an NBA title. He is a very, smart tactician, and most of what this is to have whatever officiating crew is assigned to the game, just have them be aware, and that's what coaches are doing. He's lobbying, and he's not doing anything wrong. Whether it's he's willing to take the fine if he can do it publicly and bring it to people's attention, he's willing to take the fine for it. And yeah, listen, there were some calls or no calls, I thought, that could have easily been called. I thought Tyrese Halliburton did get fouled a few times on drives to the basket where you easily could have called a foul. I thought TJ McConnell, who's not going to get calls because he's TJ McConnell, he's not, a superstar. I thought there were plays where he should have been at the free throw line when he was aggressive off the bench, taking the ball to the rim and taking contact, going to the cup. So he's doing his job. He's lobbying, and he's hoping for whatever advantage you can get. I still feel like this is going to be a competitive game. Coming up with Game 3, OG Anunoby is out. That's a huge blow right now for New York. Jalen Brunson is still banged up, and I give him all the credit in the world. He played fabulous ball on a banged up foot the other day on Wednesday, but he's not going to be 100%. And the Pacers are at home again. They've been great at home this year. They're going to try to turn up the tempo. The tempo has been relatively low. Even though the games have been intense, first couple of games of the series have been relatively low tempo games. So for Indiana to try to turn the pace up a little bit with a little bit more of a shorthanded roster, this is what happens when you're a Tom Thibodeau team. Your guys are going to be out there playing. Josh Hart has played all but 15 minutes in the playoffs so far. In the entirety of the postseason, he's played all but 15 minutes. Tom Thibodeau does not like to go deep into his bench of playoff time. He goes to the guys that he trusts and the guys that it feels like he can lean on for a lot of minutes. And not having one of those pieces in OG Anunoby, and who knows what Jalen Brunson's going to look or feel like tonight, not having Anunoby is a big loss for them. So for Indiana, it's up to them to pace up. They're without Mitchell Robinson now, so they're smaller off the bench. So Precious Achiuwa has some serious minutes coming his way. Bojan Bogdanovic is out. That's a really key scorer off the bench. Julius Randle was already hurt, and now you're missing Anunoby.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really shorthanded looking Knicks team. So the Indiana's not out of it. Rick Carlisle was doing what he thinks is gamesmanship, try to get some attention to what he felt was a lack of a whistle for his team. He's going to pay the fine for it probably, but in his eyes, it's worth it to be able to, force, the ref's hand when they get to Indiana, when they get back to a home court game tonight.
Adam, I want to follow up on the officiating situation and in the gambling era that we're in and social media era. Tim Donahue, first of all, he has no credibility. I mean, he's a disgraced NBA official. He's a convicted felon. He bet on games in which he officiated. So, I mean, I understand who we're talking about here. At the same time, he did officiate in nearly 800 games in the regular season and in the playoffs. And he made a comment to a radio station in Jacksonville, Florida, quote, "They used to put us in a room and show us plays to concentrate on that they didn't want us to miss. It was always for those big market teams and always against mid-market teams. It's not fixed, but they definitely put one team at an advantage. We'd walk out of those meetings, meaning pregame meetings, and say, oh man, they really want the Lakers to win tonight. And if you're getting paid $25,000 for each playoff game, you want the series to extend too." What do you make of those comments? Is this just a disgraced former official, or, is there some credibility there that these games are manipulated?
I can certainly appreciate his perspective because, again, he was kind of in it. A guy who officiated 13 years in the league, 800 some games, 700 some odd games or whatever it is, did some playoff games. So I can appreciate the, source. I know that, it's easy to kind of look at it and be like, well, he's got something to gain from it by being in the public eye, getting his name out there again or whatever it is. But I can appreciate the perspective. And again, he is a felon. He is convicted of these crimes, so to speak. So, if that's the case, I do believe, he has some experience in this regard. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm not stupid. And I understand capitalism and I understand why an entertainment product would want certain things to go their way. I don't believe that James Capers, who's the lead official tonight for New York, Indiana, I don't think he's sitting there going, what's the best way to get the Indiana Pacers back in this series? I don't necessarily think that that's how they go about this. But I do feel like, and this is probably the most positive spin you can put on something like this, I think optically and for competitive balance, if you were an official and you had seen 2 games where you did feel like, or where a team did feel like they were not being given a favorable or even a fair whistle, your job as an official is to also understand the balance of the series. Mm-hmm. And I think when you do go back to Indiana, so you go back to the other team's place, it is a 2-0 series. You have been told by the coaches, like, hey, you really have to watch out for X, Y, and Z. And then you add in the possibility of like the Donaghy comment having some impact however many years later. I understand why that's the case, why the optic makes it feel like that's the case. Where like, well, they want Indiana to win, they want the series to extend, all that stuff. Like I see what the perfect storm of optics here is. And in some ways it is understandable. Like I said, if you're an official jumping into game 3 of a series that, again, publicly has been looked at as one-sided, your job is going to be to try to find some balance in the series. Not even just to take out the nefarious intent that you might be thinking of, right? Be like, oh, well, they want the Knicks to win, but they want a long series, so they're going to rig it. Like, take that out of your head. Just if you came in to officiate game 3, you'd be like, well, I want to make sure we call an even and balanced series. And if the first 2 games were more, favored towards the home team, perhaps they would, the home team in game 3 and 4 would get a more favorable whistle. It's logical in some ways to kind of express it that way. And yeah, there is a small part of me that is also like, yeah, I could see why the NBA would want that. So do I have a right answer for it? No, but I can tell you that my brain has gone into both directions of the argument and the conversation and could find justification on either side of it, whether it's logical or illogical, whether it's clean or nefarious. I think my brain could easily see why and easily justify why you could see results that play into both of those narratives.
Adam did not know, folks, that I was going to ask him about that, even though it sounds like he had an answer prepared. Man, you covered that very well. That's why you're one of the best in the business. All right, we'll hold MLB for the next time I talk to you, because I want to get into on the heels of the Tom Brady roast, Belichick and Kraft, and just, of course, that was hilarious, an old school roast there that we don't see much anymore in this day and time. But I guess it's just hit me that Bill Belichick is not going to be coaching the NFL in 2024. And his only shot really was with the Falcons. And now it's already been out there, but it really has, I guess, been validated to some extent that Robert Kraft called Arthur Blank and said, don't hire this guy. And with all the coaches that are getting hired that have no experience as a head coach in this league, and some of them haven't even been in the NFL that long, I'm not going to say I'm shocked, but I'm surprised. Are you surprised that Bill Belichick, arguably the greatest to ever do it, will not have a job in the National Football League in 2024? And what do you make of the dynamic between Kraft and Belichick?
I mean, there seems to be, some understandable and still legitimate tension between Kraft and Belichick, if you're kind of reading some of the things around the roast and, reading some of Julian Edelman's comments or Drew Bledsoe's comments and how everybody was having a good time. And then Kraft walked in and the mood shifted. Temperature got a little bit cooler all of a sudden in the room. So I can understand that as well. You can see that the tension could be real when you have the exact situation that you just spelled out. Wouldn't you be upset if your old boss called your, new potential employer and was like, hey, I know he's good. He brings you results. Don't hire him. Of course, you'd be offended too, right?
Right.
So I can understand there'd be real tension there. And I am shocked, that he's not coaching somewhere. But I think part of it, listen, he and Tom Brady found lightning in a bottle. And that doesn't mean that Bill Belichick isn't a great coach. But as we just talked about with optics, what are the optics? This is the conversation everybody had 4 years ago when Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay. And I remember that conversation in the summer of 2020 when he went to Tampa Bay. The discussion was, well, now we're going to know who's for real, whether it was Belichick who was doing the heavy lifting or Brady that was doing the heavy lifting in New England. Now, is that a fair argument? No, not a completely fair argument. But again, you can understand the optics of it when you see, well, Brady went to another place that hadn't found a whole lot of success in the previous decade and a half, and took them to a Super Bowl, granted in a very odd year, but got them to the playoffs as well, where New England gets a new quarterback into the system, which still had really good defensive players, which still had some familiar names from the previous regime, and couldn't win. And not only couldn't win, but wasn't nearly as competitive as Tom Brady's teams were. So perhaps that has played into the narrative that Bill Belichick isn't the level of coach that we had come to know based on his partnership with Tom Brady. So optics has a lot to do with this. I can understand the tension, and I am still surprised that Bill Belichick is not going to be coaching. I am even more surprised that he has as much of a personality as he has, because it seems like seeing him in the media the last several weeks, and I don't doubt that is a little bit of a PR play as well to try to show organizations that, hey, I'm not some, just all I am is a buttoned up, football nerd. I'm like a good personality that you want to have in your organization. I don't doubt that some of this is optics as well, but those optics seem to play a big role in how we perceive things. Huh?
I'm telling you, man, you were on fire this morning. Let me ask you a question, Adam, because even though you're much younger than me, are you familiar with the Dean Martin Celebrity Roast from the 70s at all? I
have watched New York Friars Club roasts going back to the mid-1990s, and when I first got into comedy and watching those things, I figured out what they were from, and I've gone back on YouTube and I've watched Dean Martin roasts, and I've watched Cloris Leachman say filthy things, and Jerry Lewis say great jokes, and I love those roasts. Yeah. So to see it was pretty fun in its new form. Yeah, because I noticed on social media there's an entire generation that was shocked by this, but this actually is not new. It's just it hasn't been in our consciousness lately, but that was awesome. Hey, man, great stuff. Have you got an assignment this weekend? Brewers Cardinals coming up tomorrow on Fox.
All right, looking forward to it. Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay, great stuff from Adam Amin. All right, it is 9:56, and I went over, but that's okay, because Justin, being the outstanding producer that he is going to double up the breaks and get us out of here. And when you hear from us again, it'll be hour number 2, and we'll be talking with Rob Vaughn, Alabama baseball coach, in hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show. This hour has been brought to you by Alabama Credit Union. We got another big hour coming up, and can't wait for it right here on the TGIF edition. The Cure is going to get us out of here. Friday, I'm in love.
Only pay for what you need at LibertyMutual.com. Savings may vary. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.
Liberty, 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 liberty. WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Nick Cope.
Less than 24 hours after firing Frank Vogel, the Suns have zeroed in on their next head coach. With The Athletic reporting, Phoenix plans to hire former Bucks coach Mike Budenholzer to a contract approaching 8 figures per year. Budenholzer, of course, won the 2021 title with Milwaukee. Thursday night in the NBA playoffs, Mavericks topped the Thunder 119-110, evening the series at a game apiece. Cavaliers rolled past the Celtics in Boston 118-94. That series also tied at 1 game apiece. Stanley Cup playoffs, Rangers have taken a 3-0 series lead on the Hurricanes following a 3-2 overtime win in Raleigh. Stars even the series against the Avalanche at a game apiece with a 5-3 win. Finally, reports say the city of Toronto has been awarded a WNBA expansion team that is set to begin playing in 2026.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Here we go, hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show, the TGIF edition, right here on Tide 100.9 FM, 1230 AM, WTBC. Gary Harris, Justin Jones, and I tell you what, Adam Amin from Fox Sports was on fire in that last hour. Some great insight on the NBA playoffs and on the controversy surrounding the playoffs in regards to, are these games being manipulated by officials? Really good conversation there. We got much more to come in this second hour. This hour is being brought to you by Patterson Comer, attorneys at law. Serving our clients is our main priority. Integrity and excellence are the driving force behind the firm and its staff. I can tell you from personal experience, if you need a personal injury law firm, don't call one of the 800 firms. Stay right here in West Alabama with Paul Patterson in Tuscaloosa at 205-345-1000. Mike Comer's in Northport at 205-759-3939. Remember, the commitment to serve our clients doesn't stop at the end of the workday. We're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. PattersonComerLawFirm.com.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of services performed by other lawyers.
And if your radio show's on a good roll and you want to keep it on a good roll, what's better than interviewing the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide baseball team ahead of a huge weekend series against LSU beginning this evening, Saturday and Sunday, a lot on the line between the Tide and the Tigers, and Rob Vaughn is joining us this morning live. We appreciate his time to preview this huge series. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great. Ready to rock and roll tonight. How are y'all?
Doing great, and I know you are. Before we get to the LSU series, because obviously it is a huge 3 games of baseball coming up, let's go back to last weekend. You get a game on Sunday over there in Starkville, the Carnegie Hall of College Baseball there at the Dude, and really an amazing accomplishment to get out of there with a win when you look at what your team dealt with. And this is not something you want to happen to anybody, much less to a college baseball team on the road in front of a huge 3-game series, but some food poisoning on Friday, and you dealt with it. And then on Saturday, you're struggling to put a roster together. And then Sunday you came out and got a win. So a lot of cases you lose a series, you wouldn't be happy. But I got to believe that under the circumstances, Coach, with what you dealt with, to get out of there without getting swept felt pretty good.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. You know, you're looking forward to it. That's one, you know, as a new guy to the league, that's a weekend that I circled here pretty quick of like, man, my family's going to be there. This is going to be great. It's an hour and a half down the road. Beautiful facility. I've never been to Duty Noble, obviously, before. So was excited. Thursday, we go out and have a great practice. Everything's good. Guys got energy. Everybody's hooked in. And then, shoot, man, around about halfway through the day on Friday, it hit about 5 or 6 of us. Then about halfway through the game Friday night, it hit another 5 or 6. And by the time we woke up the next morning, it was about 25. And when it was all said and done, it ended up being about 33 guys had some type of symptoms from it. So it was a wild weekend. And like you said, man, we didn't go over there kind of high-fiving to get one, but with the hand we were dealt, I was just really proud of our kids. I mean, like you said, we were struggling to kind of put a roster together. By the end of the game, I mean, I was pulling guys out of the game because they were just so dehydrated from being sick all day that, man, I had our backup freshman catcher playing left field. I had a pitcher on deck to hit. I mean, it was a weird situation, but to see the toughness and resiliency of those guys to bounce back on Sunday, really not be in a good place, but just find a way to compete and get out of there with a win. And then kind of the same thing Tuesday. You know, I know we were a couple days out, but playing kind of a piping hot Troy team on the road and still like energy levels down, still struggling to really fuel your body with food. They were able to keep it down, but just not hungry, lethargic. But to see them come out and find a way to do what they had to do to get out of there with a win, it really speaks to the character of these young kids, and just couldn't be more proud to be their coach.
Wow. Where do you stand now as far as health? Are the guys over it? Do you feel like you're at 100% going into the series game 1 tonight?
Yeah, I mean, and I said this to, Mark Etheridge did an article with D1 Baseball on this here the other day, and I told him, I said, look, once you guys continue to get to know me better and better, I'm just not an excuse maker. It's not what I'm ever going to be, and that's the hand we were dealt. We're going to play it, and kind of the same thing. We've got guys that are still dealing with a little bit, still dealing with a little bit of just energy levels. Nobody's sick anymore, which is great. It's just, Coach, I'm not hungry. It's like, I don't care if you're hungry. Go eat something.
Right.
Just trying to fuel your body to get them ready. We were out at practice yesterday, and it was pretty hot, and there was a couple guys we had to kind of pull to the side about halfway through and say, all right, it's good, just because they're over kind of the food poisoning piece, and now it's just trying to get their body fueled and hydrated and able to kind of withstand some of those conditions. So I would say we're at about 95% strength right now, but man, we'll be ready to rock tonight at 6. I can tell you that.
I hear you, and like you said it. I mean, I would have never have known unless being my job, and I could see that watching some of the game on my computer at work Friday night. You could see that there was a little lethargic, but you never brought it up. It never made an excuse, and that's to your credit. I do want to ask you this question, though, because these were extenuating circumstances, and we do it for weather. On Saturday morning, was there any discussion about the possibility of pushing that game back to Sunday and playing a doubleheader? To the SEC travel rules prohibit that? Was that something that was brought up? Because in the spirit of fair competition, that game Saturday, I mean, I'll say it. I know you're not going to say it, but I'll say it wasn't fair. Was there any discussion of that, of pushing that Saturday game back and playing a doubleheader on Sunday?
Oh yeah. We had we were even kind of talking about and kind of pitching to the SEC and talking to the conference office about, because what we had is overnight we had about 12 guys end up going to the emergency room on Saturday morning just to get an IV, just to try to be able to get hydrated to see if they could get out there and play. And I showed up to the field with our coaches on Saturday for batting practice. We brought the bus, and we had 7 position players get off. 5 of those were actually eligible to play just due to kind of the 27-man active roster that the SEC has per weekend. So I had 5 available position players get off the bus and 7 pitchers get off the bus. So we showed up to the dude for BP with 12 bodies on Saturday, and I wrote a lineup, handed it to Lemonis, and I said, Lemo, here's what I got, but 5 of those guys are here. 4 of the guys in the lineup aren't here. They're supposed to be here by game time. They're coming from the hospital. We'll see if they show up or not. And so we've been talking to the SEC about, hey, what does this look like? We were even talking about, can we just push it back in a day? So maybe those guys that got an IV could go back to the hotel, sleep for an hour, try to hydrate, get something down and play. Unfortunately, we had just enough position players to go. There was something that happened with East Carolina and South Florida this weekend. Same thing. They had a bout of food poisoning, which is wild that it happened on the same day. But they only had 4 position players at the field, and so they couldn't even field the team. So, the message we kind of got from the SEC office was, I know it's not good, but you have 10 position players, rock and roll. So we're like, all right, this is what we got. So there was conversations. We were hoping there might be some room for adjustments there, but like I said, they kind of said it's what we're doing. So we lined up and gave them what we had. It wasn't one of the more competitive games I've been a part of, but we gave them what we had on Saturday.
Well, you know what they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And that's to be the experience you take away from that. All right, let's get to this weekend. And the last time I had you on was the A&M series, and we were, talking about weather. And I said, well, I think you're going to be able to dodge the weather. Then lo and behold, Thursday game gets rained out and you play a doubleheader. Hey, this time, Coach, I'm confident. The weather's going to be great. It is going to be phenomenal all 3 days.
No doubt.
So
no doubt.
We're ready to roll. All right, I heard your little media interview to preview the game that I ran on television last night with Crimson Tide Sports Network, Crimson Tide Productions, and you said, wouldn't you know it, LSU's hot. I mean, they've bumbled and stumbled around here most of this SEC schedule, but boy, just in time to come to Tuscaloosa, they are looking like the LSU we expected to see. And as you said, this team is loaded with talent. I don't care what they lost from the national championship team. This is still a really talented baseball team. And now, unfortunately, Coach Vaughn, they're playing well.
No doubt. And it's just the way things were, man. Same thing Mississippi State. They had been really the first half of the year really scuffling, lost some bad games, had some bad weekends, and man, down the stretch they heat up and find a way. And shoot, you knew this was going to happen with LSU at some point. That team was just too talented, too good for that to be a thing, and they just couldn't find their stride for whatever reason. They didn't have their mojo, and now, man, they're playing good. I've been sitting here watching video this morning, just going over their hitters, going over things, and you don't have Dylan Cruz in that lineup anymore, but you got Tommy White hitting right there in the 2-hole, who's dangerous, man. You got a big physical Jared Jones hitting behind him, and what they've done at such an elite level, very honestly, man, the first two arms have just been really good. Gage Jump has kind of settled in on Friday after kind of being okay through the year. Luke Holman, who people here in Tuscaloosa are pretty familiar with, is been a pretty steady guy for him all year, but has thrown the ball really well for him. Just a kid with a slow heartbeat and good stuff. And so they're pitching it at a high level. We've got some guys out of the bullpen that are throwing the ball better. Guy in Christian Little, who has kind of scuffled throughout his career at LSU, but man, it's still 99 in his back pocket with a really good cutter. So still good stuff throwing the ball well. So it is. It's a team playing high level baseball at the right time. We're both playing for a lot. I told our boys we got 6 games left. There are 6 games guaranteed that we get to play together. If we show up and we can be present and we can play our game, we'll probably get a heck of a lot more than 6. But man, they're fighting for what we want. And the beauty of this weekend and the beauty of the next 2 weeks really is, we don't have to go scoreboard watching. Everything is in our control. Us continuing to play into Hoover and into the NCAA tournament is all within our control, and we get the first 3 of them here at the Joe. So it's going to be a tough weekend, but we're excited to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you're right. You just go out and play, but you know what as you said, what you're fighting for, and that is the possibility of hosting a regional. Do you actually bring that up, or do you, as you said earlier, just keep it on the task at hand, or do you talk to the team and, hey, we want to host, we want to play more baseball here in Tuscaloosa after the season? How do you approach that with the guys, because they know they're going to be in the postseason more than likely, but you'd much rather play in Tuscaloosa than somewhere else you could, for a regional? How do you handle that?
Yeah, I think it's funny. I think as coaches, sometimes we think, man, if we just don't say it, they won't think about it. Well, these kids aren't idiots. They're all thinking about it, Yeah. And so we talk about that stuff all the time. It's like, hey, here's the reality. This is what it is. Like, if that's going to make it too much pressure for us, then we're in trouble anyway. We're not going to be very good. So this group is battle tested, man. They're tough. They've dealt with injuries this year, just like everybody around the country does. We're not the only ones dealing with that, but had some injuries this year. Obviously, you deal with the food poisoning thing last week. You're going through the toughest conference in college baseball, and you rewind a couple weeks. You played back-to-back number 1 teams in the country. We played 3 teams this year that were at some point ranked number 1 in the country, and we won 2 of the 3 series. This group is a battle-tested group of kids, and so I think you can be real with them. They're mature. They're honest. It's like, guys, hey, man, we love playing at home. We love playing at the Joe. Our home fans have been electric this year. It's a heck of a lot better to sleep in your own bed. And the beauty of this is everything lies in our control here. So, we're going to go out. And I think the big thing you have to just be aware of is, we can't win 6 till we win 1, right? So it's coming out tonight and setting the tone, coming out with good energy. We had, like I said, had a really good win for us on Tuesday at Troy. So hopefully parlaying, those last 2 games where, man, we won those 2 games on grit and toughness, because we didn't do much else because the bodies were just so beat up. So, man, you just beat 2 good teams on the road with that. Now we get to come back home with a little bit more strength. Man, let's go play our game and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed out that Troy one was a big win for Alabama, no doubt about it. All right, you mentioned Gage Jump and Luke Holman going for LSU. You're going to go for Roan tonight, Adams on Saturday, and Hess on Sunday. So you kind of changed your rotation over the last few weeks, and Hess is now going to be your Sunday guy there. Just talk about your pitching rotation for this weekend and what you're hoping to get out of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, Greg's been steady for us all year, which is why he's throwing for Friday, man. Like, He goes from a guy that, was kind of a jack of all trades at Louisville, kind of threw out of the pen, kind of threw, as a starter a little bit and had various levels of success to, man, he's been so steady for us. And he's given you a chance to win every game. And they haven't all been perfect, but that's what I tell our starting pitchers. Your job is to go out and give us a chance to win. And Greg's done that. And he's also pitched himself into a pretty good draft pick this year. So, man, just proud of that kid, but excited for him tonight. He's going to be able to line up. We're going to need him to match those guys because the reality is with Jump and Holman, chances of us going out and hanging out 15 probably aren't super high, and that's not doubting us. That's just knowing who they are. So what we need those guys to match them, and we need to look up in the 5th or 6th, and it to be a 1 or 2 run game either way, and then you turn over the pen and see who can execute better. So, we'll have Rogel in there. Our young pup, Zane Adams, he's just growing into a pretty special arm, man. Just the moment doesn't get big for him. It's a very slow heartbeat. You look at his resume of his freshman year and who he's beat. This is the guy that started the year as a midweek starter. Now he's throwing on Saturday, which in my mind is kind of the most important position of the weekend, because when you look at it, you either win on Friday night and Saturday you send it with a chance to win the series, or you lose on Friday night and you send it with a guy to even up the series. So you have to send your guy on Saturday that you trust, that you know can either win the series or even it back up for you. And man, Zane's beat A&M this year. Zane's beat Arkansas this year. Zane's done some really good stuff. So just trust him in that spot. And it also worked out because we went through some stuff about a week and a half ago where Hess was working through some things, and by us moving him from Friday to Sunday, it let him get an extra bullpen in that week and face some hitters and allowed us to work through some things. So everything just kind of lined up to line them up that way. And man, we need those guys to get up and give us some length and keep that offense down and give us a chance.
Yeah, bring it. I know you got to get going. Sunday, senior day. I know that's always special.
No doubt. Just these kids laid the foundation, man. These kids with the transfer portal all had a chance to leave when we came in if they wanted to. Every one of these seniors, save the few we brought in, had a chance to go elsewhere, and they didn't. They chose to stay. They chose to give us a chance, and they chose to lay the foundation for what Alabama baseball is going to be moving forward. And I think those guys are part of the group that, man, they're gonna look back in 20 years and see Alabama baseball at the pinnacle of college baseball and be able to tell their kids and their wives, like, man, I was part of the group that started that, and that's special. So it's going to be a pretty special day, pretty emotional day, but man, we got business to take care of and trying to line up and go get a win.
And, Coach, lastly, obviously the starting pitching is so important, but you're going to be going into the bullpen, and I want to ask you about Alton Davis specifically. Where's he at? Do you feel like his stuff is what you want it to be? Is he coming around for this point in the season?
Yeah, AD's been incredible. He was 95, 97 against State, and it was hot that day. He wasn't feeling good. Actually battled some heat-related stuff that he's been kind of working through this week and getting himself back, but he threw yesterday, felt great. But man, he's a tough kid. He's the face of this, right? And he's a local kid. He's right outside of Bessemer in there at Hoosetown, and he's just like such a good kid, man, such a fan favorite. And he's not afraid of the moment. He loves the moment. And I think that's what makes him awesome. And you've seen his stuff continue to tick up as the year's gone. It was 91, 93 early. His last couple outings, man, it's been 95, 98 with a good slider. And, man, he wants the ball with the game on the line. He pitches with emotion. He pitches with passion. And that's what you got to do, man. It ain't easy to get those last 3 outs in Duty Noble. And that guy stood up on that mound and after a 30-minute lightning delay and didn't flinch and went out and executed and got it done for. So it's huge having him on the back end. I can tell you as a coach, that makes you feel a heck of a lot better.
Sweet. All right, 6 o'clock tonight, 4 o'clock Saturday, 1 p.m. on Sunday. I know school's out, but the fans are going to be packing the Joe. It's Alabama. It's LSU. There's a lot on the line. Coach, I appreciate your time, and good luck this weekend.
Appreciate you guys. Roll Tide.
All right, 10:20 here with Coach Vaughn, and we're going to take a break, and we'll come back and can take.
Tidwell Chiropractic, the only third-generation chiropractor with over 26 years experience in Tuscaloosa. Call Tidwell Chiropractic at 752-2503.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
We'll forecast a clearing sky today. Tuscaloosa's high 82. Clear and cool tonight, the low 54. Tomorrow and Sunday, lots of sunshine both days. The high tomorrow 79. The high Sunday in the low 80s at 82. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 77 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Your home for Alabama Crimson Tide football. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 10:22. Man, what a great interview there with Rob Vaughn. I love that dude. He just shoots straight with you. All right, we got to get some phone calls in, and Cowboy is first up, and then we're going to get to Corey over in Trussville. Let's go to Cowboy out in Big D. Hey, good morning, Cowboy.
Good morning, Jerry. I haven't talked to you much lately, but I know you've seen a few baseball coaches come and go. Do you think this guy's the real deal?
I do. Unequivocally, 100% yes. And
Gotcha.
I think he has got the combination that you're looking for in recruiting, knowledge on the field, a lot of experience for a guy who's still relatively young. He's under 40 years old. Well connected, well respected. I think is going to manage the program on the field and off, and is going to bring a lot of credibility. Yes, I think he will get Alabama back to the College World Series. It's been 1999 with Jim Wells. We've had several coaches come through here that couldn't do it, and I think he's the guy. Yes.
Yeah, it sounds. I feel the positive momentum, and you also got to give them credit. Last weekend in Starkville, when they had guys out sick and everything, but they gutted it out and got that last game over there.
You doggone right, you got to give them credit. I mean, they probably shouldn't even play that game Saturday. I mean, that's remarkable to go over there and get a game on Sunday still sick. And then Saturday, like I said, I understand the SEC said if you got enough people to put them on the field, you need to play. I don't think that game should have been played, but nobody asked me.
Yeah. Hey, what about softball program? What you hearing? What's up?
Well, you still got softball to play. Right now, people can be upset, and I get it. And it's frustrating watching this team play. I think I laid out a stat yesterday. What was it? 81, their last 81 innings, they'd scored in 5 of them. But, they're more than likely still going to host a regional. And if you win the regional, you're going to get to super somewhere. And so the season's not over would be my answer. Let's see how it plays out. But if they don't win the regional, or the way this season is gone, then in the offseason, there's questions that need to be answered.
Yeah. Well, sounds good to me. Do you think, Corey's next, so he's got more insight on the softball than I got, but it just seems like we can't get any hits. But
yeah.
We've been saying that for a couple of years. So I look forward to hearing what he's got to say about it. And good talking with you. And,
hey, did you, real quick for you, and because I had some stuff on TV and on the radio about it, but did you were aware that, I guess, obviously knowing you were, I don't guess you got to go to the Dallas Country Club the other night when they gave away the Stallings and the Johnny Stallings Awards to Kalen DeBoer and Eli Gold. You were aware of that, weren't you?
Yeah, that's a great honor.
Okay.
I didn't know much about Kalen DeBoer's charity work, but that's good.
Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff. And I was able to get some video and get some sound from out there. And it was also good to see Eli honored, and now that he's no longer the voice of Alabama football, but it was a great honor for him. Hey, appreciate it, Cowboy. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, good talking with you. Have a good weekend.
Absolutely. All right, let's get to Corey in Trussville, who had called in and we couldn't get to him, but I'm glad you're back, Corey. Good morning.
Good morning, Gary. How you doing this morning?
Doing great.
Well, regardless of what happens, well, not regardless, but going forward, I've already classified this season as a failure for a couple of reasons. Number one, you didn't finish in the top half of the SEC. In fact, you finished near the bottom. Number two, you didn't get a top 8 seed. You're probably going to get somewhere between a 14 and a 16 seed. And number three, the offense has just been a complete disaster. I mean, we brought in a hitting coach thinking it was going to fix things, and in fact, it's made it much worse. And right now, our batting average sits at .251. That is completely unacceptable in the SEC. I mean, you can't even compete with that. And that's it. To me, that right there, that's an embarrassment to Alabama. That's an embarrassing to SEC play. And that's an embarrassing to college softball that the University of Alabama would put a performance of offense for that kind of, for a program like Alabama to have a .251 batting average.
Well, it's been a tough year offensively. There's no way around it, Corey. And, this isn't a good offensive team. And I understand your frustration. I have felt it too. I know a lot of softball fans have. People are passionate here about softball. They are. And there's an expectation level that is, in their minds, not being reached. Having said that, there's still more softball to be played. So I don't know that you can just flip a switch. I don't think you can. But maybe this team will get in the regional and catch some magic. The last year they did. Now that, they're not going to be more, hosting supers this year. But if they can win a regional and go somewhere and, maybe there's still something out there for this team. I don't know that. But, I'm not going to close the door on the season yet and call it a failure yet, Corey, because there's still more softball to be played.
But where's the evidence to back it up?
No, I didn't say that you're wrong. I didn't say that you were wrong. All I'm saying is that, there's more softball to be played. And if you want a little bit of evidence, like it or not, they played LSU to a 14-inning game and probably should have won that game in regulation. And then LSU knocked off Tennessee. So my point is they're not as far away maybe as it appears. It's a tough sport, but they could have won that game against LSU, and then we watched LSU beat Tennessee. So I'm not saying you're wrong, but I am saying that the book isn't closed yet either. It's still softball to be played. So I'm willing to wait and see what they're able to do in the regional.
But I think you and I would both agree that this regional will be tough. Even though Rhodes House is a tough place to play, this will be a tough regional to win because let's say you're the 14th through 16th seed. You're going to get the toughest 2 seed you're going to draw versus your 1 or 2 or 3 seed. You're going to get the easier 2 or 3 seeds. So, let's say, for example, if you're familiar with Boston U is a very good team. They have 50 wins right now. Let's just say, for example, they came to Alabama. Just as an example, they would be a very tough draw for Alabama or anybody that got the 14th through 16th seed. Teams like that have a very high win record and have good pitching and good defense are tough to deal with in the 2 seed. Just like in basketball, when you have a hot team coming in from a small conference, it's the same thing. You're going to get a tough draw. So when you have Alabama's offense struggling, plus a hot team come in, that's when you could be eliminated quickly.
I don't think there's any doubt they're up against the 8 ball, but I'm going to continue to put that but in there until they're eliminated. They're still playing, and so I'm holding out hope that when they get to the regional, maybe they find something offensively. As I said, it wouldn't have taken much more to have won that game against LSU. They got a 2 spot in the first inning. And I think it was in the 4th when they had 1st and 3rd, nobody out, and they got a weak ground ball from Dowling to 3rd, and then they got a ground ball from Broadfoot to 3rd. But if you punch across a run there, which they didn't, I get it. But if you do, you're 3-0 and you win the game 3-2, and then you play Tennessee, and who knows what happens. So it's not ideal, but it's not like they went out there and got beat, 8-0. It's not like they're getting blown out in these games. So. Other than the 1 run rule game at Arkansas, they've been playing very close competitive games. So, a hit here or there, Murphy's right about that. All it takes sometimes is one big hit, and it changes things. So I'm holding out hope that they're going to get that big hit in the regional.
Who do you have winning the SEC tournament? Because before it all started, I said Florida would win it. I thought Florida was the hottest team coming into the tournament. I know Tennessee's gone, but I know Tennessee was the best team for the SEC. But they got beat yesterday. I think Florida's going to take the
Well,
SEC
you may be right.
tournament.
But since Alabama got knocked out, I've lost a lot of interest, to be honest with you. But yeah, Florida's got a lot of talent on that team, so they could be a good pick. LSU right now is riding a wave of momentum, man, and that pitcher's been phenomenal. So
money back guarantee.
Text support to 511-511. Morning Kick. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept. Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa, Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. Available for after-hours events, rehearsal dinners, receptions, and birthdays. They offer brunch and lunch catering. Call Brick and Spoon at 205-345-5551 for more information.
Covering University of Alabama sports, as well as the national and local scene as well. The Gary Harris Show, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 10:34, 26 minutes before the hour of 11 o'clock. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. When you hear Eye of the Tiger, you know it's time for the Auburn Report with Brett Pritchard from the Auburn Blitz. And we got a lot to cover with Brett. Good morning. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, Gary.
Doing well on this end, too, and good to have you on. Let's jump right in. Let's start with softball because what we saw the other day, we've seen Alabama and LSU go 14 innings, and then Auburn and Georgia said, hold my beer. 2-2 going to the top of the 14th. Auburn hits a 3-run homer. You think it's over. And it was, but not for the reasons that we thought it was. We thought Auburn was going to win the game. Georgia comes back, gets a 3-run homer to tie it. In the bottom of the 14th, then with 2 out, nobody on, they hit a walk-off. Tough loss for Auburn. I hate to say, kind of epitomizes the season, but it's been a tough year for Auburn. Where do they stand now coming off that loss in regards to an NCAA regional?
Well, I mean, I guess you sit back and wait, for Sunday at this point. That's really where you are as a program, and you're right, tough pill to swallow. But you go back to the first inning, and Auburn really gave Georgia 2 runs. I mean, you have a strikeout. Pick the ball up to throw down to first base. You airmail it down into right field, and Georgia ends up having a 2-1 lead at the end of the first, where Auburn could have gotten out of that thing with nothing. And those runs come back to haunt you. And Mickey Dean said that. Whether it's a play early or a play late in the game, they usually end up coming back to get you if it works not in your favor, and that definitely didn't work in Auburn's favor. But you're right, marathon game, and you're on your home field. You hit a 3-run homer, and you think, man, we got to go out here and get 3 outs. And Shelby Lowe had come in for Matty Penna, and just on cruise control pretty much. And first batter comes up, and your third baseman's crept in a little bit, and she swings and tips right off the tip of her glove, and then you have another base hit. All of a sudden, you got 2 runners on, and then you hit one over the fence, and now all the momentum's right back in Georgia's favor. And Georgia's got a tremendous lineup as far as their bats. They're one of the better hitting teams in the country, and to hold a team like them down the 2 runs for that long, you just knew it was a matter of time. And unfortunately, Auburn just couldn't get out of there with that win and move on. But I think you wait now. You look and see if you can get a regional. Hasn't been the best year overall for this team. That's an understatement. But Auburn will also look toward another coach. This will be Mickey Dean's. Whether that was Mickey Dean's last game or if they'll garner a regional berth. Whenever the season's officially over, that will be it for Mickey Dean, and kind of Auburn shifting gears, looking to see who they can go out and find to lead this program. Auburn's already proven in the last decade that you can go all the way to the top of the mountain in softball and be right there with a chance to win a national championship if you get the right mix. So I know the effort's already there. I know there's a lot of teams and a lot of coaches out there probably that Auburn's targeting. They're going to have postseason berths and going to be competing deep into the playoffs, hopefully. So you may not know anything soon after the season regular season's over or really into the playoffs. May have to wait till the whole thing plays out before you're really able to name who it is.
Brad Pritchard with us. Let's get to baseball, and you're 4-20 in the SEC, but all is not lost. As crazy as that sounds, there's still a chance here. Another tough series against Ole Miss, and then on Sunday you're thinking, here we go again. But Auburn pulled that one out. They finally won one of those one-run crazy games and got a 10-9 win. And then as bad as it's been in the SEC, they've been phenomenal in midweek games. And went to Atlanta and beat Georgia Tech 7-2. And now you've got Missouri on the road, and you got Alabama at home with a midweek game against Samford. There's still some hope here for Auburn baseball, right?
Can't lose a game.
Well, yeah.
you got to sweep. I mean, I guess technically, yeah, there's hope. I mean, you're 4-20. The next outside of, you're about to play Missouri, who is 7-17, I believe, and then you got Ole Miss and LSU at 9-15. Basically, you're sitting there saying that Ole Miss and LSU cannot win another game, and you got to sweep to win. So
you're a buzz killer. You're a buzz killer, Brett.
Well, I mean,
I know.
I mean, I really think that, at this point in time in the year, yeah, you'd love anything can happen in baseball. Could Ole Miss and LSU lose out? Yeah, absolutely they could. I mean, Ole Miss is 25-23. LSU seems to be playing a little bit better, but they're 9-15 in league play too. You don't know what can happen in this league. Missouri has a 21-28 overall record, but they're 7-17 in the conference, which is 3 games better than what Auburn is. So, the only thing you can do is handle what you can handle. You can't worry about what other teams are doing. You got to go out and win them one at a time and let the chips fall where they may at this point. That's what happens when you put yourself in a position like this, where you have to rely on other teams not to win, and you have to pretty much be perfect coming down the stretch, because that's nearly impossible to do in this league. It's hard, like you said, day in and day out to go out here and compete. And when you put yourself and put your backs against the wall like Auburn has, and I'm not sitting here blaming the kids. I'm just saying this is the way it's played out for Auburn this year. And I don't think anybody saw this coming. I don't think anybody saw Kentucky at the top of the league either, with a 35-10 overall record leading the conference. You get thrown, surprises. That just tells you how narrow the margin is in this league. And I think you and I have talked about that numerous times. I mean, just a play here and there in several games, and Auburn's looking at a much different situation right now. But that's the breaks. I mean, that's how good this league is. And had Jason Caldwell on last Friday and on our show, and he was talking about, and I was talking about baseball, and he thinks with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma that softball will be the toughest overall sport in this league. And that says a lot, because you look at what they're doing and you look at what's being added. But every sport, Gary, in the SEC, it doesn't matter if you're talking about golf or tennis or baseball, softball, football, of course, and basketball, every single sport, majority of the conference year in and year out is ranked in the top 25. And a lot of times in baseball and softball, majority of the conference is ranked in the top 15, if not the top 10. So you just got to keep competing. And it starts for players and navigating the NIL world. And it also starts with good coaching, and Auburn's going to have to go out and find a really good coach in softball, and I think Auburn's got a really good coach in baseball. I mean, Butch Thompson didn't wake up yesterday and forget how to coach. I mean, he's a great baseball coach. He's taken Auburn to 2 College World Series in the last 5 years. So this is one of those seasons that you hopefully learn from. Got to shore up the pitching staff. Really, to me, has been the Achilles heel for this team this year. I think Auburn's offense has been good enough in a lot of these games to win, but pitching just giving up way too many runs and too many key moments of the game where they give up a key hit or walk a batter or whatever it is that ends up costing Auburn the game. So they'll regroup, but again, they've got a big series with Missouri. This team wants to finish strong, and you just got to take it at that.
Well, we know this. Next week, Alabama comes to town, and regardless of what the postseason looks like, it's a big series there. And I can remember Greg Goff's one year here at Alabama, which was a disaster. But I'll never forget his saving grace, at least to have one positive memory was that Alabama team, which was terrible, and you'll remember this well, too, went into Auburn and swept a good Auburn team.
Trust me, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So with these two teams, you never know. Something to play for sure.
Yeah, you do. I mean, well, I think these kids, they've got an opportunity to play college baseball, and especially at this level, you don't take any day for granted. I think you go out there and you respect the game, and you respect the opportunity to play for a really good program, whether you're having a good year or not, and you play your best every time you go out there until the season's over. So I don't think you have to tell any of these kids that on any team. I think they all are very gracious in the opportunities that they have. So Auburn's going to play hard the next 6 games, and again, we'll see where everything finishes up.
Brett, what's going on with football? We saw Coach Freeze up at the Regions Tradition Celebrity Pro-Am earlier this week. Is Auburn still portal hunting, or are they done? Is the roster set? What's going on there?
I mean, well, I think if you find right pieces, you're always. I don't think you ever are completely shut off from anything in this world anymore. You're always looking to see if you can improve your team in a position or so. Auburn does get another commitment, the 25 class from this past week. I think it was Monday or Tuesday that Tyler Lockhart from Mississippi committed. It's a big time 4-star linebacker, and a lot of teams were garnering his commitment, and he goes ahead and decides to commit to Auburn, and then Auburn picks up speaking of portal guy, another offensive lineman that could come in and help with some depth issues right away. Kid from Akron, played for 4 years, looked like he was going to go to Tulane in the portal, and then he flipped, and he's got 1 year of eligibility left. Ronan Chambers, it's a big kid, 6'6", 290 pounds. And again, I think when opportunities arise, you go out and if it's a good fit, and you talk to that kid, and you feel like he's a good mesh for your program, you go give him a shot. So I thought Coach Freeze said something interesting at the Regions. I think he was on an interview, and he was talking about the quarterback situation at Auburn, and not going out and paying top dollar for one of these guys in the portal. And he said he just couldn't justify it. He said he wants to try to build this quarterback room with what he has, and he's pushing all his cards into the middle of the table, Gary, and all his chips in the middle of the table, and on Peyton Thorne, and also continuing to develop Hank Brown and Holden Gardner and Walker White. So doesn't mean that, it's like he said, doesn't mean down the line that Auburn doesn't go after a top quarterback 1 year when they feel like they need to go out and get somebody to step in. But he feels like with better pieces around Peyton Thorne and the way things have kind of played their way out in this spring, that he's going to ride with Peyton Thorne and kind of grow this thing. So, yeah, I think coaches, Gary, are all trying to figure this thing out too, just like the rest of us out here that talk about it all the time. I think, it's knee-jerk reaction. You're going to go out there and try to get a guy to come in, but when you get him to come in, you don't necessarily know if that's going to be the right fit or not. I mean, you've been committed with a big monetary commitment to that particular person. So I think it's all about gut feel and timing. And I think he said a lot when he said, "Look, I've got confidence in Peyton Thorne. I think Peyton Thorne can be a big time player for Auburn, a big time quarterback for Auburn with the right pieces and the right coaching." And we got to remember, Peyton Thorne didn't get to Auburn until July last year. I mean, right before the season started. Let's see what this kid can do. I mean, he's proven at Michigan State that he can put really good seasons together. And, I think in this new world of NIL, when guys get to portal, fans really get hyped up. Well, let's go get that guy and go get that guy. And we portray the image that we've just got an unlimited bank account out here. And you can just go get anybody at any time, but that's really not the case. So you got to be wise with your decisions, and you got to go get the guys that you feel like can help your program if they're the right fit. If not, you got to develop who you have and hope for the best.
All right. Lastly, and I know you've, I'm pretty confident you've discussed on your show Brian Kelly's comments about we're not into buying players, and unfortunately right now that's what some guys are looking for when we are into buying players. That's just what the system is now. And I think in context, what else, he went on to say that was the statement that got publicized, but he went on to say, we want to develop guys and all the stuff that they say. But at the end of the day, he lost a player that they tried to make an offer on, Demonic Williams, the TCU defensive tackle, went to Oklahoma. So I think he was upset about that. But he's had a tendency to say some things before that have come back to bite him a little bit. I just think that came across as a holier than thou statement. How did you? Well, what did you take away from that?
Well, I mean, are you surprised? Really? I mean,
not really.
Some of the things that he said that kind of fits right in with his personality, and that was a sour grapes quote. That's all it was. LSU. We're not. Our heads aren't in the sand. We're not sitting here thinking LSU isn't in the game for all these players, just like the rest of our schools are. LSU wants to compete for national championships, and whether we like to think it or not, it's not about the school that these kids attend anymore, especially for a lot of these top-ranked players. It's about who's got the best deal. And, hey, look, we talked about it on our show. We are strictly in pay-for-play right now. We can say all the things that we want to say, and we can kind of spin things in our direction, but most of the time, Gary, if you're in on a kid and a top-ranked kid, it's going to be – I don't think those kids really care one way or the other with their top 3 or 4 choices. They feel confident they can go to any of those choices and be successful. It's about what are you going to do for me and who's going to have the best offer. I really, truly think that's where we are in college football right now. And you're going to win some of those battles and you're going to lose some of those battles. And I think it's all about, again, priority for the coaching staff, priority for your team. What are you willing to pay for somebody at that particular moment? And will that person have a immediate impact on your program? Because a lot of times, Auburn in basketball, we haven't even talked about this today, Gary, but Auburn's had a couple of guys that they thought they were going to get, and they haven't gotten them, but it's a different situation for Auburn. I'll use Duke Miles as an example. Duke Miles ends up going to Oklahoma because Oklahoma needed a point guard, and they needed a guy that could come in and play and start. Well, Duke Miles probably wasn't being promised starting minutes at Auburn. He was probably going to be more of a role player and a depth player. And, when Oklahoma caught wind that he was out there, they were willing to pay him a lot more than Auburn was willing to pay him, and he was going to be able to start. Now, I think he would love to have played at Auburn. It's closer to home, closer to his family, but I think the money won out and the situation won out. So every situation for every team is going to be player-by-player basis and need-by-need basis. And, it's pay for play. No other way to cut it.
Great stuff as always, man. We appreciate your insight into the Auburn program, and I know the Auburn Blitz be more great Auburn coverage coming up today at noon.
Yes, sir. Be on the air here in about an hour and 10 minutes, and we'll be discussing all of this that we just talked about here and a lot more. But always appreciate the time, Gary.
Thanks, Brett. All right, Brett Pritchard with the Auburn Report. Hey, Tall Pines Golf is ready for you this weekend. It's a beautiful, beautiful weekend that we talked about, made for golf. And book a tee time, call Tall Pines at 205-556-1232, open to the public. Also, you might want to look into a membership with those brand new greens and refurbished swimming pool. A lot to offer there at Tall Pines Golf Course, the former Woodland Forest Country Club over in East Tennessee.
Hey, money back guarantee. Text support to 511-511. Morning Kick. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
We'll forecast a clearing sky today. Tuscaloosa's high 82. Clear and cool tonight, the low 54. Tomorrow and Sunday, lots of sunshine both days. The high tomorrow 79. The high Sunday in the low 80s at 82. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 78 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Need to know what's going on with the Crimson Tide? Then subscribe to our YouTube channel for exclusive content on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Oh, man. Closing it down for another week on the Gary Harris Show. But, boy, jam-packed show today. We're not going to close it out just yet. Got a couple minutes left, and we're going to talk with our pal Robbie Glenn. Hey, Robbie.
Hey, Gary, I love that song, though. Little Motley Crue right there.
Absolutely.
Great song.
What'd you think of that interview with Coach Vaughn, man? He shoots it straight.
Oh, I loved it, but I was blown away that they're having batting practice and they still have players at the hospital getting IVs. That is just,
I'm shocked. I'm shocked they had to play the game, to be honest with you. But
yeah, I am too. And I'm really curious, like, did Mississippi State step in at all and say, hey, can we back it up a couple hours? Would that help you? Or did they say, no, we're playing like SEC said? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, it sounds like they said
that would have been a nice gesture.
We're going to play, but I don't know. But the fact that they gutted it out and they managed to win that game on Sunday, man, that's going to turn out to be a huge win for this team too.
Oh, it is, and like you said, you saw they were still struggling a little bit at Troy. I could see the starting pitcher Snell had to get some. Actually, he came out from pitching, had to get some Gatorade and was having issues. So I hope they're ready to go. The weather's going to be cooler, but, man, going against a loaded lineup, and LSU's hot again. But I'm looking forward to tonight. I'll be watching it with Stryker, move him out to the couch, and we're going to watch.
But
I wish I could be there, but...
Well, glad that you're going to be able to watch it with Stryker, though, my friend. Hey, I got to get out of here. We're up against the end of the show.
Yeah, I know.
But thank you so much, Robbie.
All right, Gary. Talk to you this
All
weekend.
right, and that is going to do it for this edition of the Gary Harris Show for this Friday. Reminder to catch me on TV tonight with your local sports. And at 10 o'clock, of course, we'll have highlights and post-game reaction from Coach Vaughn on this Game 1 between Alabama and LSU, which is going to be a huge series. We broke it down for you in depth. All right, T-Town Sports Daily is coming up next from 11 a.m. until noon. Beautiful weekend. Play some golf, get out, go for a walk, ride a bike, do something, and take care of your mother on Sunday. You only have one of them, Mother's Day coming up Sunday. All right, for Justin Jones, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for listening, everybody. Talk to you again on Monday morning at 9 a.m.
Thank you for listening to